Hey guys, Tanner and Tristan from Top One Outdoors here. This one's going to be a little bit different. It's a video that we've been wanting to do for a long time, and I think it's time that you guys meet. Well, formally meet. You're going to meet one of them before this video, which is Matt, who I'm talking about, because he's in one of our videos.
Yeah.
And Hunter, you're going to be seeing a lot more in hand. And but this video is us introducing the two other members of Top One Outdoors, which is Matt and Hunter. And
I'm Hunter.
Matt.
All right. And how did you guys get started in hunting? You know, what got you guys interested in the outdoors and stuff like that?
Well, for me, it was I started off really young, probably 4 or 5 years old with my dad. I remember the first time we were down in like the Lynn area, and he shot a doe, saw a bobcat come in. It's a pretty cool experience, and ever since then I've been hooked.
All right, Matt. Tanner's off scene. He's messing around.
Well, there's a lot of different starts.
True.
I think the first time it had to be probably when I was 5 or 4 and picked up my first bow and started shooting at 3D tournaments in the summer.
Awesome.
And then once I was old enough, I got to go hunting, not with my bow because, 30-pound draw ain't gonna kill nothing unless you're pretty accurate. But it kind of just went from there, and from there on, here we are.
Yeah. So moving on from that, what's your guys' favorite activity to do in the outdoors? Do you prefer hunting or fishing, or
For me, my favorite thing is probably the scouting and everything leading up to the actual season, and then putting in all that hard work, and then having it pay off at the end of the season. That's what I enjoy most.
Okay.
I'd have to say.
Yeah. Hard to choose, right?
Yeah.
Well, going off what Hunter said, sort of, kind of, my favorite part would have to be the off season. You got your scouting and all this, but during off season, I also shoot competition. That's archery competition. That's pretty fun to me. But I shoot a whole completely different setup, so when it gets closer to time, I pull the hunting bow back out. Like I was saying, scout, run cameras, find trails and hang new stands and brush in blinds. Then also ripping lips in the summertime.
Yeah. So let's just go ahead and start with the big ticket. Like deer hunting. What's your guys' favorite deer hunt you guys have ever been on? It could be your biggest buck story, or just like the first time. Just a good story you guys have.
This year would hands down be the best year I've ever had. I shot the biggest buck I've ever had in my life so far. We scored him at 134 and an eighth. Plan on remeasuring him once I get the mount back. But how it played out was I got in a little late. It was gray light. It was probably 6:15. And we went in there, sat down, had this doe come in at 10 yards, was sitting on the ground. She started stomping her feet, kind of thought she was going to spook, and she ended up letting me slide, and she went down into this draw, went up the other side, and this buck actually came from the direction she was heading. And he came right where she was standing at 10 yards, and when he got down that draw, I drew my bow back, and as soon as he popped up, I shot him in the shoulder. He was quartering two, and he ran maybe 30 yards and piled up.
All right.
Back onto that, I got the best news at morning work too.
No,
This fella right here.
Yeah.
Got one. All right, I get home at 11. I'll be there.
Yeah.
I guess that means my turn.
Then
Yep.
the following day, it was you.
Yeah, I'm getting there. So like he said, following day, it's next day of rifle season. or the first day our off season was there. I wake up, I text him, see if he's up. Right as I'm texting him, I hear big clap of thunder. So I'm like, oh man, I don't know if it's panning out. I look at the radar, it's gonna quit. So I go pick him up. I bought my tags that morning at his house. Mind you, it's what, 5 o'clock still.
Yeah, it was probably 5:15, 5:30.
So rain let up by the time I get to his house. I went back our way to Sturgeon, which is where my farm's at. Sit there a little while because it started raining. I was like, I ain't gonna mess with finding a spot to sit in the dark. Usually I don't ground hunt, but rain, who knows. So we get dressed and ready, rifles loaded. Walking out of the creek bottom here is this little 8 that I passed during bow season at like 20 yards. And a broken G2, hunters are shooting. I was like, it needs another year. So we get up to the ridge. I'm looking off to the left by my stand that I hunted with Tristan actually.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I hear Hunter say, Matt, big buck. I look over, he's facing to me. I mean, it was a split second. Raised that gun, fired off, or clicked off safety and fired it off. 10 yards, the breastplate, the old biggest deer of my life, and I could share it with this one. Funny story is, we take her to the same taxidermy at day park.
Yeah. All right. So from there, I guess you guys have already talked a little bit about the off season, and you mentioned ripping lips. That's fishing. I know you both enjoy fishing a lot. You guys have been getting me into it more as of the past couple of years. So we know you do that in the off season. But what else do you guys do to fill your time in the off season?
Oh, trapping for sure. That's a big one I do in the winter time. If I've already harvested a deer or two, I'll go run my trap line. Unfortunately, fur prices haven't been worth anything this year, along with the last several years. But I just try to trap to keep up on the population, keep the numbers in check. And
Yeah. All right. And Matt, you mentioned 3 shoots. You want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, mostly it's ASA 12 rings. I shoot lately I've been shooting a known class, 50 yards known, max. You don't even, known, you know the yardage. Class I was shooting for, you gotta judge it yourself. Walk up there, you try to find the 12 ring, so you find it, you gotta guess the yardage, turn the dial, draw back and shoot, hope you get to the 12. But other things I do in the off season, like you said, but I predator hunt, I don't trap. I haven't got that much into trapping. Also, another thing is turkey hunting in the spring. Dude, my favorite too.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess what do you guys plan on bringing to the table? With you got archery and all that, and trapping. So, is that basically it, or is there some other ideas and stuff you've got cooking around?
well, we could do some more fishing and that sort of stuff. But also, maybe bring more scouting knowledge,
Yeah.
amongst us all. We could get more of an idea of what the deer are doing, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what we bring to the table.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, food. I'm an archer.
Tanner says food.
Well, I guess you can say I'm kind of an archery nerd. There's something wrong with your bow or anything, I pretty much get it down at the source. I'm not saying I'm good or anything. I've just been in the sport for
A decade now.
probably since I was 5,
Yeah.
and I'm 19 now.
Yeah. Just over a decade.
So pretty much what I bring.
Alrighty. Well, Tanner, you got anything else you want to ask him?
Yeah. Nah, I ain't got nothing.
Go for it.
I was gonna say what you guys do for a living, but you don't have to say that if you don't wanna.
Go for it.
Well, I'm actually a meat cutter by trade. Really?
For us, who do you cut our deer up?
Yeah, that does come in handy. He's a very, very good at what he does, and he butchered the the button buck I got this year, he butchered his buck and Matt's buck.
And my doe.
And yeah, Matt got a doe as well this year, so it
He's-
pays off having.
He's supposed to do my doe, but they end up taking it somewhere.
Yeah. But yeah, it definitely helps having somebody who knows some stuff. Matt?
I work that old factory life. I'm an electrician at Wilson Trailers, making flatbeds all day long.
Yeah.
Kind of drags, not really. Alright.
So yeah, he's just a fabricator basically.
Oh, well,
Fabricating, that's like putting parts on, building the parts and stuff like that. All right. Well, with all that put aside, I guess that's all we've got for you today. We're very happy to have these two on the team now, and we'll see you guys later. From all of us at Top One Outdoors, happy trails.